I remember the recording cutting out just as that guttural growl filled the cabin, something heavy pounding on the door, claws scraping like a knife on wood. The man behind the mic was screaming, but you could still hear that cold, wet breathing just outside. Then silence. Nightbound Bloodline presents the 7 disturbing recordings from the Werewolf Research Unit, 1973 to 1991. What you are about to hear are 7 chilling audio fragments, survivor testimonies, research logs, and emergency transmissions, captured by the now-defunct Werewolf Research Unit between 1973 and 1991. Each recording documents encounters with entities that defy rational explanation, shifting the boundary between myth and reality. These are not legends told around a fire. They are real, recorded horrors from individuals who live to tell the tale. Listen closely, and welcome to the shadowed depths of the Nightbound Bloodline. Let's begin. The Witnesses Story 1. The Howl Near Red Pine Creek, 1973. My name's Alan Reese. I'm 28, was working as a forest ranger back in '73. I grew up around these woods helping my dad with conservation, so I'm no stranger to the wilderness. And look, I don't buy into ghost stories or old wives' tales. I'm a see it to believe it kind of guy. When I got the call about unusual animal activity near Red Pine Creek, I thought it was probably just some hunters messing around, or maybe a bear sighting. It was just past midnight, early fall. The air was thick with damp earth and the faint scent of pine resin. Fog had crept low over the creek, swallowing the moonlight. I could hear the soft gurgle of water and the rustle of leaves in the breeze. Everything felt still. Something felt off right away. At first, it was just a feeling, like eyes on me, watching from the dark. Then came the snapping of twigs, slow and measured, stopping abruptly as if whatever was out there knew I heard it. The silence that followed was unnatural. Even the frogs and crickets seemed to hold their breath. Then, a wet, musky smell, like something large and wild, with a thick coat slick with rain and something else, rot maybe. And then I saw it. It was standing by the creek bank, just beyond where the trees broke. It was enormous, easily over 8 feet tall, but not upright like a man. It hunched forward with long, muscular limbs ending in what looked like claws. The fur was patchy, dark brown with streaks of gray, matted and dripping. Its snout was too long, too sharp, and the eyes were golden, gleaming with a feral intelligence that chilled me. They didn't just look, they assessed, calculating. It didn't move like any animal I've ever seen. Its gait was both smooth and sinister, like a predator stalking not just prey, but fear itself. I froze. The beast cocked its head slightly, then let out a sharp, deliberate knock against a tree trunk, a sound eerily human in its rhythm. It started moving towards me, slow and deliberate, not quite running, but not walking either. Then it stopped and stared, unblinking and unwavering. I reached for my radio. My hands were shaking. That's when I realized I wasn't alone. Something was behind me, blocking my retreat path. The creature had been flanking me, using the trees to stay out of sight. I wasn't dealing with a mindless animal. Whatever this was, it was smart, and I was just prey now. I ran. The sprint through the underbrush was desperate, breath burning, heart pounding like a drum. I tripped over roots and stones, scraped my arms and legs raw. When I finally cleared the woods and reached the ranger station, I slammed the door and locked it behind me, panting, soaked with sweat and rain. I left the forest the next day, and I never went back. I still have the recording from that night. The growls, the claws, the knocking, they're on it. You can hear the panic in my voice. I know what I saw. It was no bear, no wolf. It was something else. And I'm not crazy. The Witnesses Story 2. The Shadow at Mercer's Hollow, 1977. My name is Patricia Pat Monroe. I'm 34, a wildlife biologist studying nocturnal mammals for a government program. I've spent years in the field, nights more often than days, usually with a camera or audio recorder. I'm very much scientific. If it can't be measured, tested or observed reliably. It's not part of my world. I don't believe in legends, not when I have facts. Mercer's Hollow is a remote valley nestled between jagged hills, thick with old-growth forest. It was a cold October night when I set out for my usual owl calls monitoring trip. The wind was steady but soft, the kind that moves quietly through the trees without shaking branches. The sky was cloudless and filled with stars, the crescent moon faint but enough to cast pale shadows through the canopy. Around 1:30 a.m., I started hearing something strange. At first, it was faint, like distant footsteps, heavy and irregular, crunching leaves and snapping twigs. The sounds were too deliberate, not random animal movements. They stopped when I held still, only to start again once I moved. Then came the smell, a thick mixture of wet fur and decay that assaulted my senses and made my stomach turn. I couldn't see anything. Then, out of the corner of my eye, something shifted. I turned and caught sight of a massive figure standing just beyond the tree line, partially hidden by shadows. It was taller than any man, with broad shoulders covered in tangled, black-gray fur. Its muzzle was elongated, with lips pulled back to reveal sharp, uneven teeth. Its eyes reflected the moonlight, not yellow or golden, but a cold, unsettling ice blue. They held a calculating sadness, not wild madness. Unlike any animal I'd ever studied, it stood on two legs occasionally, but most often moved quadruped, muscles rippling beneath its fur. It was neither bear, wolf, nor man. It was something in between, and something more. What shook me most was how it watched. It was studying me, reading me, perhaps even understanding me. At one point, it mimicked, tapping a small branch against a tree with perfect rhythm like I had been doing moments earlier. The sound was metallic, deliberate, a sign of strange intelligence. The creature then stepped fully into the clearing, a slow, careful walk like a ghost merging with the night. I don't remember running. I just knew I had to get away. Back at my research cabin, I played the tape. There was nothing but eerie silence, until the recording suddenly captured a soft, guttural growl that I hadn't heard at the time. It was close, so close the hairs on my neck stood on end. To this day, I've studied hundreds of animals in the wild and captivity. This was no animal. It was something else. The Witnesses, Story 3, Emergency Radio Transmission Number 154, 1982. Operator, Unit 7, come in. Status. An agitated male voice responds. This is Mercer. It's surrounding the outpost. The dogs are dead. The comms are crackling. I don't know how long we have. I hear scratching. There, it's like they know the layout. We can't stay here. Static. Then, loud, guttural snarls and screams, indistinct shouts, and the sound of heavy impacts filling the feed. The transmission abruptly ends. The man behind the mic was Lieutenant Harris, veteran of multiple field expeditions with the Werewolf Research Unit. He was always steady and professional, never rattled. But this recording proves he met something beyond human comprehension. The circled timestamps show frantic reports of a pack encircling them, using dark tactics, blocking exits, knocking down walls, and taunting. They called for reinforcements. They never came. The Witnesses, Story 4, The Silent Tracker, 1986. My name's Marcus Edlin. I'm 41, a park ranger in the Rocky Mountain Range. Been on these trails for nearly 2 decades. I don't do stories or superstition. My job is to keep people safe, and that means relying on facts and evidence. But what I'm about to tell you, well, that changed everything. It was late summer, around midnight. The air was dry and sharp with the scent of pine needles and distant campfires. I was doing a routine night patrol near Pine Ridge when it started, this unnatural silence. Normally, the forest would echo with nocturnal life, but that night, nothing. No crickets, no birds, no rustling. Then came the footsteps. Heavy, slow, calculated. Unlike anything you'd expect from animals or humans, the cadence was too measured, deliberate. I stopped and listened. Every hair on my neck stood straight. I smelled the musk before I saw it. A thick, sour stench like wet fur mixed with something rotten. I caught a glimpse near the ridge. The silhouette was wrong. Stalking upright but hunched, fur clumped and black against the moonlight, almost blending with the shadows. Then it turned. The face, not quite human, not quite beast. Eyes the color of molten amber locked onto mine. The snout was long, but the lips curled back to reveal sharp teeth unlike any wolf. Its ears twitched at sounds I couldn't hear. It moved with terrifying grace. It tracked me as I attempted to leave, mirroring my steps around rocks and trees, blocking paths when I tried to double back. It wasn't hunting mindlessly. It was tactical, calculating. When I finally broke through the trees and reached my vehicle, I slammed the door shut, heart pounding so hard I thought it would burst. I was shaking uncontrollably, sweat mixing with cold night air. But the thing wasn't done. At dawn, when the light returned, I found deep scratches across the hood of my truck. 4 long gashes, clawed with precision. A message, a threat. I've never returned to Pine Ridge. The Witnesses, Story 5. The Moonlit Howl and the Lost Camp, 1990. My name is Elena Graves. I'm 27, a documentary filmmaker specializing in folklore and cryptids. I was working on a project about local legends when I joined a research group near Blackwood Forest. Night had fallen, and the air was cool, thick with mist curling along the underbrush. We had set up camp near an abandoned ranger station, surrounded by dense trees whispering with every breeze. Around 2 a.m., a low, mournful howl echoed through the valley, a sound unlike any wolf I've heard. It was elongated, bone-chilling, vibrating with a pain that felt almost human. Suddenly, the logger's radio crackled to life with distorted static. Then, a voice, not ours, rough, guttural, and full of intention. The howl grew closer. One of our guides spotted something, an immense figure moving just at the edge of the firelight. It was humanoid but grotesque, fur patchy and glistening with dew. Its eyes glowed red like coals, filled with an ancient sorrow and fury. It remained just out of reach, watching us, tilting its head as if curious, mocking, before vanishing into the dark. The next morning, we found the camp reduced to ruins. Tents shredded, supplies scattered, deep scratches gouged into trees. The lost camp. That night was captured on tape. The howls, the voice, the silence broken only by something breathing just beyond the light. I keep that recording with me always, because some darkness won't stay in the past. The Witnesses, Story 6. The last transmission from Outpost 13, 1991. My name's Daniel Ruiz. I'm 35, a night security guard for a remote outpost deep in the northern wilderness. I always thought of myself as tough, cautious, so when I got stationed here, I figured it'd be just another quiet shift. But what I experienced changed everything. It was a bitterly cold night, the kind where the silence in the forest feels almost alive, oppressive. The forest around Outpost 13 was dense, ever present with the sound of rustling and distant animal calls. I was just about to log off when the radio crackled to life. A shaky voice, distinctly panicked. This is Outpost 13. We have something outside. It's not human. It's massive. It's watching us. That's when I heard it, an unearthly groan, a deep, guttural sound that didn't resemble any known animal. It was as if the forest itself had turned into a living, breathing nightmare. Then came the recordings. They captured the sound of heavy footsteps, slow and deliberate, circling the outpost. Occasionally, there was a sharp, ripping noise, like claws tearing through metal or flesh. The creature's breath was ragged and wet, almost inaudible but undeniably present. I could hear the frantic crackling of the radio, the officer on the line trying to maintain composure as the beast's growls grew closer, more insistent. The last transmission was a scream cut off mid-yell, filled with primal fear. That night, The creature tore through the walls, and the outpost was abandoned. No bodies, just that deafening silence afterwards, like the woods had swallowed everything whole. To this day, I keep the recordings. They're a warning about what lurks in the shadows, waiting, about the things man wasn't meant to see. The Witnesses, Story 7. The Final Encounter at Blood Moon Ridge, 1991. My name is Samuel Carter. I'm 43, a seasoned cryptozoologist who dedicated his life to studying the unknown. I thought I'd seen everything, heard every story, until Blood Moon Ridge. It was a driving rain, late October. The moon was sharp and red, the blood moon. I was there with a small team, following reports of a creature sighted by locals for generations. We set up camp, expecting nothing more than a legend. And then we recorded it. At first, just distant howling, deep and mournful. But then, a figure emerged, a towering silhouette, moving slowly through the mist. Its fur was thick and dark, glistening like wet slate. When it saw us, it froze, eyes glowing with a strange, crimson fire. We watched in disbelief as it rose on two legs, towering well over 7 feet. Its face, longer than a wolf, with a snout full of sharp teeth, looked cunning, almost sinister. Its paws bore terrible claws, extending like blades. It stared at us for what felt like an eternity before shifting back into the shadows. We tried to follow, but the creature vanished as quickly as it arrived, leaving behind only the echo of its growl. The recording captured every moment, the sense of dread, the unnatural silence, the beast's calculated movements. I've played that tape dozens of times. Every time, I feel that primal fear, reminding me that some things are better left unknown. These recordings, captured over nearly 2 decades, paint a disturbing picture, one of creatures caught in a liminal space between myth and reality. Encounters like these aren't isolated incidents. They echo the long-standing fear of what lurks in the wilderness, hidden from human sight, but not from our nightmares. It's encounters like these that remind us how little we truly understand about the wild places on our maps. The creatures out there could be nothing we've ever documented, things that seem to slip just beyond our comprehension, existing in the blurred boundary of legend and truth. If you've experienced something similar or have a story of your own, we invite you to share in the comments. Your voice might be what unravels some of these mysteries. Remember to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more tales from the shadowed corners of the world. This has been Nightbound Bloodline. Thank you for listening. Until next time, sleep with one eye open. The end.